I just want to read this little paragraph. Many Americans do not know, but the Braceros program formed out of an agreement with Mexico and the United States, which allowed millions of Mexican males to enter into the United States for short-term work on agricultural labor contracts. It was brought upon by an executive order in 1942 due to many growers contending that World War II would exacerbate labor shortages to low-paying agricultural jobs. So the United States decided on August 4th, 1942, to support a short-term intergovernmental agreement for the use of Mexican agricultural labor on the United States farms, which were officially referred to as Mexican farm labor programs, which this is what led to the influx of legal temporary Mexican workers and what they refer to as legal. Also, it was stated that from 1942 to 1964, 4.6 million contracts were signed, with many individuals returning several times on different contracts. So for people that want to complain about all the Mexican immigrants that's here, bro, they've been here for a minute. The Braceros program started early 1900s. And Mexicans started coming in here because late 1800s, America was like, especially the white people, they was like, yo, we losing our jobs and stuff to these Asian people. We need to get rid of the Asian people. Check the link in the description. See that whole video where I broke this stuff down. Like, the stuff that we see now with immigration, it is not a new phenomenon. And you mad at people for something that they can't even do. This is the government's fault. The government. You mad at people for stuff that they ain't got squat to do with except providing a body. Says from 1942 to 1964, 4.6 million contracts were signed, with many individuals returning several times on different contracts. And you think these people ain't having babies, making children while they here? Meanwhile, desperate for work, Mexican nationals were willing to take strenuous jobs at wages disdained by Americans. They were taking jobs for pay that we will not take. Farm workers already resided in the United States feared that Braceros would compete for employment at lower wages. Why? Because they've been suckered out. Suckered out. They've been suckered out before the immigrants even came in. Before the migrants even came. The Bracero program, in theory, had precautionary measures to protect both Mexican and domestic workers. For example, it guaranteed the payment of at least the prevailing wage or area wage received by Native Americans, or so Native workers. So what it says is that it was ensuring that people, the Mexican people that were coming here, were at least being paid similar to what the Native workers were being paid. Employment for 3/4 of the contract period, adequate sanitary and free housing, decent meals at reasonable pricing, occupational insurance at employer's expense, and free transportation back to Mexico at the end of the contract. This is what people are complaining about. That people are getting free housing at the expense of the government and taxpayer dollars are paying for it. But this has existed since the late 1800s. This has always existed. Because of what agreements that the United States have with foreign countries, because of what they need people to work our workforce, to maintain our economy. Why? Because they continue to send our male workforce out to war. Just look at these eras. This thing said from what, 1942 to 1964. This is post motherfreaking the Great Depression, and we leading into Vietnam War. The United States officially went into the Vietnam War in 1964. So who was supposed to work the lands? The women and children that have been oppressed and ostracized. You had some doing it, but come on. The government had agreements. And then it says the employers disregarded many of these rules. Native and Mexican workers suffered while growers profited from abundant, inexpensive labor. Native and Mexican workers suffered while the employers profited off of this inexpensive labor. Farm wages decreased tremendously as a portion of manufacturing wages. And it resulted in some of the utilization of braceros and undocumented laborers who were not provided with full rights in American society. Wake up, people. This ain't no new phenomenon. You mad at the wrong people. You want to be mad at somebody? Be mad at the niggas who made the standards that we are currently living in. Everything that you complain about, that you say that the immigrants are exhausted, nigga, they were already exhausted before they got here. Okay? Niggas wasn't taking care of us to begin with. So kicking them out ain't gonna help nothing. Go on and kick them out. We'll still be in the same boat that we were in before they got here. Wake the freak up, people. Good morning, good morning, good morning, beautiful people. Good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time it is, just know this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. As always, God is good, and He is good all the time.